Just a few clicks and the game is online. Hey, I'm Yannick and this is Isaprod. This week I actually and finally managed to finish the game, so you can click the link on the description and just play it. You get to itch.io where you can play the game on the browser. You don't have to download anything. It's as simple as it can be. Well, you know what's not simple? Finishing a game. When everything is almost ready and there are just some minor details that have to be added to consider the game as finished, these minor details actually consume as much time as the whole rest of the game, at least in very small games like mine. So let me show you some of these details. At first, I still continued with polishing. Dashing wasn't as satisfying as I wanted it to be. That's why I added a little screen shake whenever the player hits the enemy or the wall. Okay, this might be a little bit too much. Perfect. Actually, I managed to create an audio illusion, which is quite awesome. At least I kind of hear the screen shake even though there is no sound implemented yet. Maybe you can hear it too. If you're interested about this effect, just Google "hearing a silent GIF" and you can get information about this. I find these kind of tricks our brain does pretty interesting. But let's get back to the game. The player shall be rewarded when they manage to kill multiple enemies in one dash. The points they get are multiplied by the amount of enemies they get hold of. But this was probably unnoticed by the player yet. But now I added visual feedback in form of a multiplier text whenever the player is dashing through 2 or more enemies. This way they should be able to understand that killing multiple enemies will benefit their score. The last bit of visual polish was to finally create a suitable spawning point for the enemies. Ugly. I wanted to achieve the visual appealing that the enemies are digging through the ground where they pop up after a short amount of time. I'm not too happy with the result. Still ugly. But this was all I could achieve with my skills and the amount of time that I had. So maybe I'm gonna do a rework of this later. One thing that was left to do was creating a menu. To make it a little bit more interesting, enemies are spawning and aiming for the play button. This way the player can already see the different kind of enemies, well, if he's patient enough. With the game basically finished, it was time for playtesting and balancing, so I had my brother playing the game. The 3 takeaways were: the game is fun to play, the game is a little bit too difficult, and you can use kobolds to block the zombies and keep them away from you, which is pretty awesome. I actually didn't come up with this idea, so it's funny to see how other players do different stuff with their game than you would do. One thing that made the game very hard was enemies spawning directly under the player or very close to them. You always need to have an eye on the ground directly by the player. This is not easy because you normally are looking at the distance where a lot of zombies are to plan your path on dashing through most of them, so you don't pay that much attention to the samurai at the same time. It's also quite frustrating to suddenly die without even seeing the enemy coming, so I changed the spawning system and this shouldn't happen anymore. To make things easier, I experimented with different spawning rates and different paces of the samurai. I tested very slow and boring speeds, as well as velocities that were so fast that I wasn't even able to control the samurai in an adequate way anymore. After a while I found a tempo that was quite fast but still controllable and probably and hopefully makes the most fun. At this point, MCM commented my last video with a suggestion to add a slow-mo effect when reaching a new high score. So here we go. This got to the game, but I'm not quite sure about the slow-mo effect because the game feels pretty laggy and jittering the way that I implemented it, so I might put it out of the game or have to re-implement it in a better way. The last thing I needed to do was adding sound effects and music. I got the music as well as some of the sound effects from freesfx.co.uk and created the rest by making weird noises. I don't want to know what my neighbors now think of me. The end result is okay. And this is the version with music. I definitely have to learn a lot about sound before I can be proud of my work, but this is one of the great things about game development. There's so much to learn and always room for improvement. I would be really thankful if you play the game and give me honest feedback about what's good and what's maybe not so good or could be better, so I can take your feedback and improve it. And probably I want to make a video how I going to take your feedback and add it to the game to see how much better it can get. So stay tuned. I don't think. No, I can't put this on my video. No. That wouldn't be good.